So, thank you for joining us again. Um, this training today really is just to go over all the features that we implemented back on April 15th. We uh, basically, back in the early 2000s, when Gene and everybody started using QuickBase, a lot of features and things about our electric transmission database have slowly changed over time. And so these new changes that we've implemented are really to better streamline and allow better filtering of our existing projects and programs. Um, so here, this presentation is the one that we linked on our homepage, as well as the one that we sent out in the email. And you can download it at any time. And we're just today we'll go over what has changed, how it's impacting you as a user, and how um, it will create better ways of filtering the data that's in the electric transmission and distribution database. So the first change, our name change of this database from transmission project database to electric transmission and distribution project database. This change is really to reflect what has changed over the past 10 years, where distribution projects have morphed into more trackable programs with longer lead times. Back when this database was developed, the lead time on a lot of the distribution projects weren't very long or very planned further out. So over time, we have added more and more of these larger distribution programs. Unlike our competitors, we've never not allowed distribution level projects, but now we're just formally changing the name to include transmission and distribution. Um, by no means do we have every distribution program out there, but we definitely are capturing a lot of those larger distribution programs. The second change, which is a much more cosmetic, but also probably more dramatic, when you drill down to the individual project view, what you'll see is a much more streamlined view. You haven't lost access to any of the fields that existed previously, but it's to give more of a clean look and interaction to an individual project. And we'll go over later that how that appears and how that's changed in the new view. The next three changes have to do with project fields. So we used to have, and you still have it available to you currently, a field called project type. Um, and now what we've done is we've broken up that project field into two different fields, excuse me, project types and project elements, as well as structure types. Um, and we're going to go over how you filtered on these new projects and how it's the same and yet different in the way it appears in your view. So this slide here, just going over like the old field project type, not project types. We used to utilize this sort of old style drop down that QuickBase always had. And what we found was it was too numerous, very difficult to filter down. Many projects would be a combination of multiple elements. So, for example, it could be a new line that also had, a communications component to it. It could be, it could be in any number one of these drop downs. So it made it difficult to filter out what you may be primarily interested in. And so we've broken out the old project types into these two fields, project types and project elements. Project types will include fundamentally these five categories. So any one project could have one or more of any one of these project types. And that is simply new line upgrade, new substation, new switching station, or it's a substation switching station upgrade. So we have lumped together in that last project type. If it's an upgrade to an existing substation or an existing switching station, it'll fall into that category. You could have projects where literally every single one of these will appear as selected in this new field. Additionally, the project elements, um, previously they were very much uh, captured across numerous check marks. So, like you would have HVDC project, or that the line was underground versus submarine. You'd have all these different check boxes. We've now streamlined it into one single field that you can look up and select and filter in and out what you're interested in under project elements. Um, this is just this slide here is just continuing to go into how it will appear in that individual column. You'll see it. This is the actual text that will appear in that project, and it could be again one or many of these things, or none of these. That there are a few out there that have none of these elements in them, but those tend to be more outliers. But it really captures the specific elements of a particular project that you might be interested in. Um, a lot of what this will improve is in your individual reports, you'll no longer need to have all these columns with all these different check marks just to know whether or not a project contains a particular element. So in this particular example, in the old report view, you would have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 columns that you can now capture into these single two columns, project types and known project elements. Or and so Same thing with structures. So this is the new structure type. Previously, a lot of times if you were trying to capture what type of structure was involved in the project, you would have to filter across multiple check marks. Now it's all going to be captured under one structure types, so that you can see, does it have monopole, does it have lattice, does it have concrete, and see what might be within its the project's profile. And this slide here is just again showing how we had, you would have to have all these check boxes in here in a single report. Now it's going to be all captured under structure types. So a singular column, and you'll still have access to the same information that you had previously. It's just, again, kind of condensed down. Um, so a lot of these older fields that we have had out there since 2008 um, will be sunset. Um, we're going to keep it in play so that it won't impact you for the most part. But we would really encourage everybody to, um, for their individual reports that are saved under their user seat, to update them to include the new fields, because we do think it creates a better value. Um, and even on a filtering level, it really it helps sort of hone in what you're looking for a project. Videos on how to do this are posted on our YouTube channel, and we're actually going to go through today how you would make those common changes. This is just a list of the refresher trainings that we have scheduled. Obviously, this is the second one we're holding today. Um, we're going to go over how to make the changes. Uh, while we highly encourage everybody to modify their own reports just to get used to the new fields and how they navigate, Um, if you would like us to go ahead and update your reports for you on your behalf, we are willing to do that. Just give us permission. And this is my email as well as Austin and Emily's, and that we'll be happy to make those changes on your behalf. Just let us know. In the presentation, the PDF that was emailed out and is posted out as well on our homepage does contain what we're going to go over today, as well as a list of project field definitions. So if you're interested in how we're defining different fields, like for example, we consider a true line rebuild to be a line that they're replacing both the structures and the conductor, and they'll typically be on existing right of way, whereas we define a new line as on new line, I mean, new line, on new line, new line on new right of way. So that's one, difference that if you're interested in how we're defining these different types, um, you can get that information that's in the presentation, and it will be available on the homepage as well. So without further ado, I'm just going to pull up, sorry about that. I'm going to pull up the actual database. So from the homepage, you can see the announcement and the presentation, as well as the YouTube links. Um, to give you an idea of how dramatic the project view is different, has changed. I'm just going to pull up this example, the Guernsey Station interconnection, Kramer through Vast Cell extension. When you pull up this individual project, you can see you'll still have access to the viewing the map and the overall details, as well as the hyperlink to the particular utilities projects. And you'll still have access to the field that we'll be retiring over time, project type, here on the right-hand side. But you'll see in the new fields, here it was new line, new substation. In this example, it's new line, new substation, new switching station. So it's creating more information so that if you're trying to target a specific category of work, it more easily captures that information. Same with the project elements. It has everything up here in this multi-select field. Another new field we have, and this isn't necessarily different than what we had previously, but it's a singular field that if this project ends or begins in a different state or province, it'll literally say, Ohio slash or dash Indiana, and the state one, state two is still available. It will just be depicted under location information. Um, For each one of these collapse sections, it contains all the same fields that you had access to previously. Um, it's just, again, just more streamlined, less checkboxes, and you still have, you can see all the details, whether project contact information, if there was any known contractors, that would also be up here as well. Same thing with project description and primary reason or driver under this section here for project description. Or say elements and component totals, where we actually provide a breakout of, okay, we said new line, new substation, new switching station. We have here a breakout of, the number of breakers, number of transformers, switching stations, and number of new substations. So that's under the elements or component totals. Then under the structure and conductor details, you can see, how many structures we're saying there are, how, if it's an exact or an estimate. And again, if you ever want to know the definition of the field, we have the list that's provided in the handout, but you can also hover over the yellow info buttons and it'll describe to you how we're defining this particular field. Um, and the new structure type field, this is a steel monopole only, and then we provide the narrative of what was given to us by the data source for what structures are being involved, as well as number of circuits. If we know the conductor type, we'll provide that here. Same thing for if it's bundled. So let me close this just for viewing purposes. Um, so yeah, so location information, providing the RTO, where any information we have from the source as far as where it's originating and terminating, as well as if we had any midpoints, they would appear under here. And then project history, if it has a related generation project tie-in, a GenTie tie-in, that would be in the generation database. And if you subscribe to that database, you can click on that link and access that information. Same thing if this particular one has two components, as well as the project profile history, where we always add the month, the year, where we found the information. And if we're able to, we'll provide a hyperlink to that source. as well as, earliest documentation found, all the lovely details that we always had before, just it's condensed down and hidden in this section here, project history. And same thing with the project news, you always have access historically to any news articles that we have found on a project. Um, so that's the project profile view that's changed, the most dramatic change out of all of the new additions. Um, but say like you want to take advantage of these new fields and you want to play around with it. Say for example, AEP joint ventures. If I went to this report and I wanted to see only the line projects, you come to this view and you can actually select at the top here under search records, you'll see the new field project types, and you can click on it and you can see all of those options. There is an other category. This is a very rare category that will appear. It can be something that's sort of, it could be physical security for a substation, which we very rarely put in the database, but if something like that were to occur, it would fall under that other category. Um, but again, you can choose any one of these. Say if you want only line projects, I go line upgrade, new line, and it will drill down from those thousands of projects to 518 projects. And so then you'll see here on the upper right corner, there'll be a green flag to indicate that you filtered down. And if you hover over here on the right-hand side and click on the hyperlink, you can actually see the filters that are being applied. So the reported in-service year is greater than or equal to the current year. The reported in-service year is less than or equal to the next 8 years and includes those 2,100 projects. So those unknown in-service date projects. And you can see all the different utilities that are included in this report, as well as it will reflect whatever you have filtered down, so line upgrade and new line. And then here on the green flag on the right-hand side, you would click on more actions. And you'd say save report as, and this will save it under your say okay. So that's one example of how to filter down with the new project types. Um, you can do the same thing with structure types or project elements, and it'll always provide you a list of everything that's in the report, and you can select as many as you wish. Um, and just be aware that beyond these dynamic filters that are listed up here, you can actually click on the filter emblem here, and it'll pop the filters actually in the columns themselves. So for example, if you're not just interested in line projects, but you want ones of a certain size or anything like that, you can, or certain as-built voltage, say you're only interested in, 230 or, whatever voltage you might be interested in, you can type that in here as well. This example is building a report and filtering it down from the home page. Say if you have an existing report that is saved under your user seat, you'll find it'll be a report that maybe has been emailed to you automatically, or it may be one that's saved under your user seat and you can see it here under reports and charts. And you'll see everything you viewed recently and then everything that's saved under your seat. So say for example, if you have one, let's see, AEP line, just trying to find, say I'm going to say line. Say if you have ones that contains, apologize, I'm trying to find the report that, let's see if it's Entergy line projects, maybe I named it. You can scroll over here and you should be, and I apologize, it popped me into the old view. I just clicking on the toggle there to go into the new view. Okay, and so this one says includes line upgrade, includes new line. So this one actually has already been filtered by the new project types. Um, Here it is. My report. Here we go. Sorry. um, so this report's called My Report Line Projects Active Development. And so I can see here from the filters that say this report is being filtered by project type that will be sunsetting. It says contains line. And you can see the other filters being applied. To update this filtering, first I would want to add in the new fields. So this one that we're sunsetting, I would click on the three dots and I would say show more columns. And in the drop down, you should see immediately project types and project elements. Just apply. And then come back here to the project type will be sunsetting and say hide this column. And I would go ahead and hit save just for good measure. If you forget to hit save, it's okay. It'll still remember the changes you made. Just sometimes, depending on refreshing, you might forget. And then in the upper right corner, I clicked on, I'm going to go back, customize my report, which is right here. It's the little, it looks like a photo edit button. If you hover over there, it'll say customize report. And I'll scroll down and you can see that you can change the columns here as well. But in this filter, this initial filters, you'll see project type contains the value line. So I'll want to click on this and hit, if you type asterisk, it'll pull up immediately the new fields and say project types, includes the value, say new line. And then I'm also going to bump this forward to project types includes the value line upgrade. And it should basically replicate what would have been the old filter. And hit save on the upper right hand corner. That's pretty much it as far as what you would need to do to update something that says contains line, or same thing if it was contain substation. You would go in and do the exact same steps. One of the other things that the two new fields really allow someone to do, say if you were interested in new lines, line rebuilds, and line reconductors. So you can actually apply the field types. Again, hovering over this, it says includes new line, project elements includes line rebuild, or project elements includes line reconductor. So it's really honing in your report to reflect those three elements. And you know, sometimes people are only interested in new right away. Sometimes, uh, you can play around with it, but it'll allow more flexibility in what your report is capturing instead of limiting you to our long drop down list of here. And actually I can show you a lovely long project type that's being sunsetted. It's very it's convoluted, new substation upgrade, it's a very complex drop down list that over the years we kept adding to it. And we really do feel that these two new fields sort of do a better job of capturing and narrowing down what you might be interested in. Is there any questions? I feel like I've done a lot of talking.
I have one question. When you're using the old method to update your report, reported in service year.
Mhm.
Can we not do is greater than current year? Doesn't seem like it always seems like it has to be a numerical value.
So we changed that actually on April 1st. We created a way that if you don't want to do the numerical value, um, in this particular example, I had already used the new method that we rolled out on April 1st. So we didn't make a big announcement about it only because we knew the new fields were coming in, and so we didn't. Um, but yes, there is a way to do that. So reported in service year. And thank you for pointing this out. This is actually a great question and something we hadn't covered. Uh, reported in service year is greater than or equal to. In the past, it would ask you to put a numerical value, but here in the drop down, you can actually say the value in the field and it can say current year. And same thing with reported in service year is less than or equal to the value in the field the next 8 years. Um, you can also say in this one the value of 2100, and then that 2100 cap, since those are active projects, that would really kind of get you everything that is uh, actively in development and not on hold. Same thing with adding, is uh, status, project status is not equal to the value uh, under construction, and then you can even add status is not equal to the value operating, and that would get you definitely. It would narrow the projects in a way that. It's a great question.
Question is, when you're making the changes in the beta view,
Hmm.
does it change the old style view, or do you need to go in and change that separately?
It should update both. I will tell you, one of the things, if you're modifying the report and you hit that toggle back and forth, sometimes it won't remember what you've changed and sometimes it will, just in that given moment. But once you hit save or save as, it will remember it.
Make sure you use one method or the other, and once you save it, you're good to go.
Yes. Yes. So like and I hit the toggle off for the old view. It just takes those filters down here to the left side, and it's the same. Overall, it's the same. It just looks slightly different. And I will tell you, there was some growing pains with the beta view where it started to get kind of weird. Um, I just clicked on this column here and I asked it to remove the old field. And so instead of the green flag up here where you have to click to say save, it just pops up here and I can hit save. Um, it's QuickBase originally was going to retire this field or the toggle, but they kind of have backtracked, and so we're not sure. It's not clear. It's not clear um, when or if they're actually going to get rid of the toggle. Um, be aware though, in the old view, you have to be in the old view in order to make a new subscription. Um, that's not the case if you have an email subscription to like say you have your own regional report that you get once a month sent to you via email. If you go up to hi your name, it'll give you options where it says my personal settings in this app. And that's where you'll see the notifications as well as any reports or charts that would be here on the left side, the notifications and email subscriptions versus any reports you have saved under your name.
We're saving to the same report. It'll keep the same email distribution, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yeah, well.
All right, last question, then I will be quiet. I'm having a little trouble with the nesting. Our report filters, the initial filters are pretty simple with the new setup, but I've obviously, due to one of my senior moments, have messed up the nesting. So I was thinking about maybe just sending you a screenshot, take a look at it, and tell me where I messed it up, because the rest of them are all going to be the same.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Please do. That's actually a very good point. In QuickBase, because of the initial filters, it's very easy to accidentally uh, the and or and where it went awry. So anytime, please shoot us an email. We can definitely jump on and get that updated. And that is one thing I do love about the new view. It's a little easier to see the and or arguments being applied. Um, and so, yeah. Any other questions? Thank you, Jean. Again, bringing those issues.
Thank you for the time. This has been very helpful.
Well, we'll have this recording posted, and again, feel free to reach out. We look forward to the feedback. We're not a big mass organization, so if you have anything that you're like, wow, I really like this, but I don't like this, please speak up and let us know. We're very open.